8 Stoic teachings to master mental discipline and find inner peace. I used to feel like my own mind was my biggest enemy. I was constantly distracted, emotionally reactive, and just couldn't find any real sense of inner peace. My days were a chaotic blur of notifications, anxieties about the future, and this nagging feeling that I wasn't in control of my own life. I felt like I was adrift in a sea of my own thoughts, tossed around by every little setback. It was exhausting. I was living life on the defensive, just reacting to whatever the world threw at me. The whole idea of mental discipline felt like a myth, and true inner peace. That seemed like something for monks on mountaintops, not for someone like me, just trying to get through the day. So, I decided to try something a little radical. I turned to the ancient past to solve my very modern problem. I challenged myself to live by 8 ancient Stoic teachings for 1 full week to see if I could finally get a handle on my own mind. These are the same principles used by people like Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who led through war and plague, Seneca, a brilliant advisor who navigated deadly political games, and Epictetus, a man born a slave who became one of history's most influential thinkers. They didn't come up with these ideas in some ivory tower. They developed their philosophy in the trenches of life, facing the same chaos, loss, and uncertainty that we do. And what I discovered about discipline and inner peace over those 7 days ended up changing everything. Stick with me, because what I'm about to share isn't just a list of ideas. It's a blueprint for building a fortress for your mind, and it might just change things for you too. Teaching 1. Focus only on what you can control. The first lesson, and the one that became the bedrock of my entire week, is the cornerstone of Stoicism. Understanding what you can and can't control. The idea is deceptively simple. Some things are up to you, your thoughts, your judgments, your actions, and your responses. These are yours to command. Everything else, what other people think, the traffic, the weather, even the ultimate outcome of your efforts, is external and not really up to you. As the great Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." My challenge began on a Monday morning. I had a huge project deadline, and of course, the key colleague I was counting on called in sick. Instantly, my old programming kicked in. Panic started bubbling up. My mind raced with worst-case scenarios. We'll miss the deadline, the client will be furious, my reputation is ruined. That familiar wave of anxiety was about to crash over me. But then, I stopped. I took a deep breath and drew a mental line in the sand. What couldn't I control? My colleague being sick, the client's ultimate reaction. I couldn't magically create more hours in the day. Trying to fight these things would be like trying to push back the ocean, a complete waste of energy. What could I control? I could control my response. I could control my own effort for the day. I could control how I communicated the situation to my team and the client. I could choose to see this not as a disaster, but as a test of my resourcefulness. So, instead of panicking, I got to work. I calmly explained the situation to the client with a clear, revised timeline. I reorganized our tasks and delegated what I could. I put on my headphones, shut out all distractions, and focused with an intensity I hadn't felt in months. The anxiety didn't just disappear, but it no longer had me in a death grip. It was just background noise. By pouring all my energy into what was actually in my power, I felt a surge of empowerment. The chaos was still there, but it was outside the walls of my fortress. Inside, I was in command. This might be the most powerful mental shift you ever make. The next time you feel overwhelmed or angry, Just pause and ask yourself, what part of this is actually up to me? Pour your energy into that and practice accepting the rest. You'll stop wasting your strength on unwinnable battles and start finding a power you never knew you had. Teaching 2. Reframe your judgments. The second teaching builds right on top of the first. The Stoics argued that events themselves aren't good or bad, they're neutral. It's our judgment of the event that causes our suffering. Epictetus, the slave-turned-philosopher, put it perfectly. What disturbs people's minds are not events, but their judgments on events. My test of this principle came on Wednesday. I got an email from my boss with some blunt, critical feedback on a report I'd spent days on. My gut reaction was a mix of shame and anger. My mind started screaming, "He thinks I'm incompetent. All that hard work was for nothing. This is a disaster." The story I was telling myself was one of personal failure. The event, the email, had become a judgment on my worth. Remembering my challenge, I forced myself to pause. The email itself was just text on a screen. The words were just data. They weren't inherently bad. The pain I was feeling wasn't coming from the email. It was coming from my own story about it. As Marcus Aurelius said, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. So, I tried to change my estimate. I reread the email, but this time I stripped away my emotional story. What was left? A list of specific, actionable points for improvement. The story of "I'm a failure" turned into "I have a clear opportunity to make this report even better. My boss trusts me enough to give me direct feedback. Same event, totally different feeling." The sting of rejection was replaced by a sense of purpose. I replied, thanked him for the feedback, and got back to work, feeling motivated instead of defeated. This is a skill you can practice every day. When you face a setback, stop and identify the story you're telling yourself about it. Is that story a fact, or is it just your opinion? Is there a more empowering way to frame this? You are the narrator of your life. By changing the story, you change the emotional impact. Teaching 3. Practice mindful self-reflection. For the Stoics, an unexamined life was a life left to chance. They were pioneers of self-awareness, believing that daily reflection was crucial for discipline and growth. This isn't about being hard on yourself. It's about an honest and objective review. Seneca advised ending each day by asking, "What bad habit did I curb today? What fault did I resist? In what way am I a better person?" So, for my challenge, I kept a Stoic journal every night. It wasn't a dear diary of my feelings, but more like a practical ledger of my actions and judgments. I used a simple 3-prompt format. 1. Where did I practice Stoicism today? Where did I succeed? 2. Where did I fall short? When did I let my emotions or externals get the better of me? 3. What can I do differently tomorrow? On Thursday night, I wrote about an argument I had with my partner over something silly. My first impulse was to write about how I was right and they were being unreasonable, but the journal forced me to be honest. I had failed to control my first reaction. I had let my judgment that I was being disrespected color the whole conversation. I hadn't acted with virtue. Writing it down was humbling. It wasn't about beating myself up, but about seeing a clear data point. In moments of conflict, I get defensive. My plan for the next day was simple. If a similar situation comes up, I'll pause, breathe, and just listen before I speak. This daily practice was like turning a light on in a dark room. Slowly, I started to see my own patterns, my triggers, and my weaknesses with surprising clarity. It wasn't always comfortable, but it was incredibly effective. It turned self-improvement from a vague idea into a concrete, daily process. I really urge you to try this. Just take 5 minutes before you sleep. Review your day, not through the lens of success or failure, but through the lens of your own actions and reactions. This simple habit is a powerful tool for course correction, making sure that each day you become a slightly better, more disciplined version of yourself. Teaching 4. Embrace voluntary discomfort. This one might sound strange, since we're so conditioned to seek comfort, but the Stoics believed that by deliberately exposing ourselves to small, controlled challenges, we build the mental toughness we need for when real hardship strikes. It's like a vaccine against misfortune. Seneca suggested setting aside a few days each month to eat plain food and wear rough clothes, all while asking, "Is this the condition that I feared?" For my week, I chose a classic Stoic challenge: the cold shower. Every single morning, I ended my normal warm shower with 60 seconds of pure cold water. The first morning was brutal. Every cell in my body screamed, "No!" My mind flooded with excuses. "This is pointless. It's too cold. You'll get sick." It was a direct confrontation with my own desire for comfort. But I did it. As the icy water hit, I just focused on my breath, on enduring it without judgment. And when the 60 seconds were up and I turned off the water, the feeling was electric. It wasn't just physical, it was a huge psychological win. I had faced my own internal resistance and won. By day 3, something changed. The dread was still there, but it was smaller. I knew I could handle it. It became a morning ritual of proving to myself that I could do hard things. A tough email or a long meeting seemed trivial compared to the battle I had already won before breakfast. I also started appreciating simple things more, like the feeling of a warm towel or a hot cup of coffee. By experiencing the lack of comfort, my gratitude for it skyrocketed. You don't have to start with cold showers. Choose your own controlled discomfort. Maybe it's skipping a meal, sleeping on the floor for a night, or leaving your phone at home for a few hours. The point isn't to torture yourself, it's to train your mind. It's to teach yourself, on a deep level, that you are more resilient than you think. You're building calluses on your mind, preparing you for the inevitable roughness of life. Teaching 5. Live in accordance with nature. This is one of the most profound Stoic teachings. Living in accordance with nature doesn't mean you have to move to the woods. It means 2 things. First, accepting the natural order of things, reality as it is, not as you wish it were. Second, and more importantly, it means living in accordance with your nature as a rational, social human being. The Stoics believed our unique gift is reason, and our highest purpose is to act with virtue specifically, the 4 cardinal virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. On Friday, I faced a moral test. A colleague made a mistake that could get our department in trouble, and in a meeting, they subtly tried to shift the blame onto me. My primal instinct was to lash out, defend my ego, and expose them publicly. It would have felt good in the moment, but I paused and thought, what would it mean to act from my higher, rational nature? What is the virtuous thing to do? Lashing out would be intemperate. Ignoring it would be unjust to myself. The wise and courageous path was to handle it calmly and directly. After the meeting, I approached my colleague privately. I said, "Hey, I noticed in the meeting there was some confusion about the error. I just want to make sure we're on the same page so we can fix it together." My tone wasn't accusatory. It was focused on the shared goal. You could see the defensiveness just melt away. They admitted their mistake, and we worked on a solution together. By choosing to act from my higher self, I not only resolved the conflict peacefully, but also strengthened my own character. This principle is your moral compass. In any situation, ask yourself, what would the wise, courageous, just, and self-controlled version of me do right now? Don't act from your lower instincts of fear or ego. Act from your highest potential. Aligning your actions with virtue is a direct path to an unshakable inner peace, because you know you're living true to yourself. Teaching 6. Practice negative visualization. Here's another Stoic practice that seems counterintuitive at first: premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. It involves regularly imagining that you've lost the things you value most: your job, your home, your friendships. As Seneca explained, it's not about being morbid. He said that what is unexpected is more crushing, so we should project our thoughts ahead and consider every possibility. The goal isn't to create anxiety, it's to build gratitude and resilience. On Saturday morning, I spent 20 minutes doing this. I sat quietly and vividly imagined my life without things I take for granted. I pictured my work laptop being lost or broken. I pictured my closest friendships having faded away. I just sat with the reality that everything I have is, in a way, on loan from fortune. At first, I felt a pang of fear. But as I sat with it, something else happened. When I opened my eyes and looked around, I saw everything with a new sense of wonder. The laptop on my desk wasn't just a tool, it was a precious opportunity. The texts from my friends weren't just notifications, they were living connections I was lucky to have. The practice didn't make me more afraid of loss. It made me intensely grateful for what I have right now. It washed away the dust of familiarity and let me see the beauty in my ordinary life. This also builds resilience. By mentally rehearsing setbacks, you strip them of their power to shock you. If one day you do face a real loss, it won't be the first time you've confronted it in your mind. You will have already thought about how you would endure. Try this for yourself. Spend a few minutes contemplating the temporary nature of things. It won't make you sad. It will make you deeply grateful and far less fragile. Teaching 7. Value your time above all else. It's funny we're so careful with our money, but incredibly wasteful with our time. The Stoics saw this as madness. To them, time was our most precious, non-renewable resource. Seneca wrote about this with a sense of urgency. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, if it were all well invested. For the final day of my challenge, Sunday, I decided to do a ruthless audit of my time. My goal was to eliminate what Seneca called being preoccupied, being busy without being productive, being distracted without being present. My biggest time thief was, you guessed it, my smartphone. The endless, mindless scrolling. So, for one full day, I put my phone on airplane mode and locked it in a drawer. The first hour was jarring. I felt a phantom limb, a constant twitch to check for something, anything. It showed me just how deep my addiction to distraction was. But as the morning went on, a sense of calm started to settle in. The mental noise subsided. Instead of scrolling, I read a book. I went for a long walk without any podcasts, just looking at the world around me. I had a conversation with my family where I was fully present, not half listening while glancing at a screen. The day felt longer, richer, and more meaningful. I realized how much of my life I was squandering for little hits of digital information. As Seneca warned, putting things off is the biggest waste of life. By postponing being present, I was wasting my life. This lesson is about being intentional. You don't have to throw your phone away, but you have to be the master of your time, not its slave. Set clear boundaries. Be ruthless in cutting out the activities that don't align with your values. As the Stoics remind us, we are dying a little bit every day. Every hour that passes is one we can never get back. Invest it wisely. Teaching 8. Practice gratitude and acceptance of impermanence. The final teaching weaves all the others together. It's the practice of gratitude for what you have, combined with a calm acceptance that everything is impermanent. The Stoics constantly remind us that everything, our possessions, our health, our loved ones, is temporary. Marcus Aurelius told himself to accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. My week-long challenge really came together with this final realization. As I sat down on Sunday evening for my last journal entry, I reflected on the whole week. I thought about the stress of the deadline, the critical feedback, the argument, the cold showers, but instead of feeling the phantom stress of those memories, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. I was grateful for the challenging project because it taught me about control. I was grateful for the critical feedback because it taught me about reframing things. I was grateful for the argument because it showed me a weakness I could work on. I was grateful for the discomfort of the cold showers because they showed me my own strength. This is the core of Stoic gratitude. It's not just being thankful for the good stuff, it's being thankful for everything, because every event, good or bad, is a chance to practice virtue and grow stronger. It's an acceptance of the whole of life, with all its inevitable ups and downs. To practice this, you can end your day by listing 3 things you're grateful for, but try to include a challenge you faced. Be grateful for the rude cashier who tested your patience. Be grateful for the traffic jam that gave you a moment to just be with your thoughts. When you can genuinely see the opportunity for growth in adversity, you become psychologically unbreakable. You stop wishing for a life without problems and start becoming the person who can handle any problem with grace. The transformation. My stories after. So, what happened after a full week of living like a Stoic? The change wasn't a lightning strike. It was more like the slow, powerful turning of a great ship. The biggest shift was internal. The constant, low-grade anxiety that had been the soundtrack to my life for years had finally quieted down. It hadn't vanished, but the volume was turned way, way down. I felt a sense of calm authority over my own mind that I had never experienced before. I stopped seeing life as something that was happening to me and started seeing it as a training ground for my character. Every challenge, every frustration, every inconvenience became a new piece of equipment to train my virtue. The world hadn't changed at all. The chaos was still there. But my internal operating system had been upgraded. I had built the foundations of a mental fortress, a place of inner peace that external events couldn't easily breach. I discovered that mental discipline isn't about being emotionless or robotic. It's about having the wisdom to know where to focus your energy and the self-control to choose your response. It's not about suppressing your emotions, but about no longer being a slave to them. It's the freedom that comes from mastering yourself. Conclusion. This one-week experiment taught me that Stoicism isn't just some abstract philosophy. It's a practical toolkit for navigating the modern world. These 8 teachings are a timeless blueprint for mental discipline and inner peace. You don't have to take on all 8 at once. That would be overwhelming. But I challenge you to pick just one. Pick the one that resonated with you the most. Is it focusing on what you can control? Is it trying a small, voluntary discomfort? Is it starting that nightly journal? Commit to practicing that one principle for just 1 week. See how it feels. Notice the shifts in your mindset. Because real transformation doesn't happen by just consuming information. It happens by taking that knowledge and applying it in the arena of your own life. If this exploration of Stoic wisdom resonated with you, please give this a like and subscribe for more journeys into ancient philosophy for modern problems. And I genuinely want to know, which of these 8 teachings are you going to try? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one, and I'd love to build a community of people on this path. Thank you for spending this time with me. Remember, you have power over your mind. Realize this, and you will find strength. Be well.